right.
Welcome, Antonio.
Thank you.
This is such a. I just want to pay homage to you and your performance. This is a very difficult character. There's so much subtlety. There are so many varied, minute gestures that you add to this character. Can you tell us about, this Salvador or Mayo?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, it's strange, but in reality, I started putting this character together almost 10 years ago. And that is a weird thing to say because there was no script at the time, and probably Pedro didn't have a project like this in his mind. But I know Pedro since 40 years ago. And for a time of 22 years, we didn't work together. I went to America. I did my career there. He continued doing his movies. Of course, we kept going our friendship, but we didn't work together. But after 22 years, he called me, and I suppose that I arrived to Spain, not cocky, but I was just with my American experience behind. And I just put it on the table, and I said, well, this is, what I have learned all these years, and I am more secure in front of the camera, and I can do this and that, and blim, bada, bam, pam, pam. And he said, oh, that's very good. And so after a week of rehearsals, he said to me, these things that you came, you brought from America with you, they may be very useful for the directors there in America, but not for me. And he made a question that was actually was like a punch in your mouth, He says to me, where are you? And I thought, oh my God, this is not going to be good. And so instead of actually open my ears and my eyes to what he had to tell me, I kind of confronted him. And of course, the relationship that we have is a friendship. So he was always very creative on the set, but there was certain tension because I got my own opinion of what the character should be. He got his own, so we were just kind of fighting. But then I saw the movie for the first time in the Toronto Film Festival. And I just, I couldn't believe that he brought out of me a character that I didn't even know I had inside. And there was a big lesson there for me to learn. So for a couple of years I was thinking, is he going to call me again? What is going to happen? I'm going to work with Almodóvar, maybe not. So when he called me and he offered me this, I went to him and I said, listen, if I ever had a medal, I just took it out of my chest. I am going to go as a plain soldier. I want to work from the scratch. I want to just jump in the mud with you to create this character from the beginning together. And I want to listen to what you have to say and what you have to tell me. I want to know why you want to do this movie, and I want to know why you call me to play you. So, the process started in a completely different way. There were also things that happened in my personal life that collaborate to the participation in this movie and how the character was created. So this is pretty much the story of how I got to Salvador Mayo, Pedro Almodóvar.
He actually told you, if you think in any sequence, it will help you to imitate me, you can do it. And you said no. Why? Why?
No. Because I think it would have been very destructive. I mean, he provided me with all the exterior world that surrounds him in terms of colors, hair, even, the apartment that we see in the movie is an exact copy of his apartment in Madrid, in such a way that sometimes you were leaving the set and you were going to take the elevator. I mean, there was a fake one, but it was totally, his apartment. But when he proposed me, and he says, yeah, you can use my mannerisms if you want, I said, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's going to be very destructive. I prefer to create the character from the inside out and just look for another way. Let's just talk about, I mean, there is a reason that you call this character Salvador Mayo and not Pedro Almodovar. So let's just try to just do it in a different way. Eventually, yeah, there are certain moments in the movie that there is some body language that I was close to what Almodovar do sometimes, but there are details that are minimum, very, very, very little, yeah.
And we've known you, you've made a career of this bravura characters, you know, very passionate and very physical. And in this, we see a new Antonio. It's internalized. There's a subtlety to it. You know, can you tell us about that transition, that new Antonio?
Yeah, there was a certain need to metaphorically kill that other Antonio to do this. You know, it was not a space for him. The Zorro and the heroic character that I have played, the epic character that I have played, and romantic character that I have played in other movies. No, there was something that has to do with loneliness, suffering, pain. In this character that, you know, I couldn't use other, you know, the tools that I have probably used in other movies in my career. I had to just search for a different way to approach the character. Yeah.
There is, I'm just a huge fan of this film, and there is a series of encounters in this film. There's 3 major love stories that you have to wrestle with. You know, the mother, the love for your mother, the love of the Leonardo, and then the first love that we see in the watercolor. How was it to balance those different, I call them encounters that this character has?
I think we all travel through life with a suitcase filled with greatness and miseries, and we all left open wounds in our past and circles that were not closed. And the movie is about that. It's about reconciliation. It's about coming to terms with certain people and certain events in your life. So basically what we did when we had any type of problems is just go to the Bible. And our Bible was the script, which organized all of these you know, events that are happening. There were other things that I didn't count with in the process of making this movie. And probably it belongs to this movie, and it's impossible that you can apply that to some other type of work. And try to explain it. There was some kind of emotional information coming to me that I didn't expect. Why? Because obviously the character that I am playing is my director, is the guy that is telling me action and cut every day. And I could see in him the effect that my performance produced in him, saying the words that he wrote about himself. So when I saw that, it was like bouncing back to me. It was almost like a reflecting mirror every day, a ping pong game. You know, there were moments in which he didn't have to really talk too much. There was a scene with my mother in a balcony that we shot that very early in the morning.
Beautiful.
And you know, Pedro loves to go to the set and explain to the actors, you know, reading the lines, details that little things that, you know, we were just talking on the rehearsals, you know, when you say this, remember that you have to do that, well, things like that, you know. So he read the character of my mother first that morning, and and I was just giving him the replica, and then he was going to read mine. And he took the script and he just went, and he couldn't. He just couldn't read. I mean, and the line was, "Mother, I'm sorry that I am not the son that you expected me to be." Mm-hmm. So I knew immediately, the depth and the complexity of that very simple line for him, and what it meant emotionally for him. So, those are things that you cannot count, you cannot rehearse. They come to you like this when you are working and you use them. The next thing to say is just say action. I got it. I know exactly what is happening to you right now and why you cannot talk and why you have a tear in your eyes. So, and Pedro, believe me, he's a tough cookie. He's not a guy that cry easily. He's a tough manchego. Manchego is from the center of Spain, de La Mancha. And so to see him like that for me was very important because he gave me an emotional information that it didn't come actually on the script. It came straight from him every day on the set.
30 years earlier, Julieta Serrano, who plays the older version of your mother in the film, she played your mother in Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown.
She has been my mother 3 times in 3 Almodovar movies.
Yeah.
Check it out. That's very, very complicated. That happened again. Might be a record of the Guinness Book.
The scene with you in the hallway with her, the scene in the terrace, are so rich. And how was it for you 30 years later, having her as your mother again and working with her in those scenes?
There is a certain cruelty in that relationship, mother-son. And in the way that I remember talking with Pedro about it, it was as follows. He says, my mother was a very strong woman and very resourceful. She's the woman that is madre coraje, is the woman that can take the whole entire family, put it on her back, and just go ahead with them. By the time that she was older and she started losing strength and she started feeling weak, she became angry. And then I was around. So I paid for that. And so many of those scenes are based on that kind of a strange relationship that has to do with somebody that is approaching death and resist that. And that is bitter, but it's the way that Pedro tried to put in the movie in a very simple way. Because for me, one of the things that struck me when I read the script for the first time, which is the only time that I am really a spectator of my own film, is when you read the script for the first time. Then you got contaminated by it, with the rehearsal and stuff. But the things that struck me when I came and I read the script for the first time is the simplicity of it. It was a very simple way to tell stories, which was not common for Almodovar. Almodovar normally came with more Baroque stories, but this was almost austere. Austerity was the word that it came to me when I read the script for the first time, and that is all through the movie. And I think it's all even in the performances. We try just to embroider the character very little by little, no big strokes, which actually brought me with, in a way, when I played Picasso not such a long time. I mean, I practically went from Picasso to the Almodovar movie. And in the last 2 episodes of Picasso, I realized, that Picasso didn't need too much to express himself. Yeah, with a very little stroke, almost like painting like a little kid, he can just say a lot of things. And that was the first thing that came to me when I read the script, that Almodovar was just going to that place in which simplicity is actually a virtue. It
is simple, but at the same time it's so complex and so rich. I've seen the film a few times. I'm obsessed. And
that's good.
The scene where you go in the CAT scan and it looks like a spaceship and almost like a time machine, and you've seen the watercolor, and then all of a sudden you go through the CAT scan, and all of a sudden you're transported to the memory of being a young child, and then right after that you go home and start writing and understanding that writing and art is what he will heal your character.
The only way out. But it's the only way out for Pedro Almodovar, you know. I mean, many of the things that are in this movie are really biographical. Some other, no. But there are many that are. And all those pains that are described in the movie, even if it looks like an exaggeration, is true. He's my friend. I know how much isolated he has been from all of us. You know, Almodovar, there was a moment that he just locked himself in the house. When he got one of those migraine, he had to lock himself in a room in darkness with no noises. It's hard. The problems with his back, the problem with the throat. You know, I saw him choking once. So that scene that I'm choking is an imitation of something that I saw for real. You know, it's yeah. That's it. And then there are other things that are not in the movie. But I've been saying this these days. You know, what are we really? Are we only the things that we have done and we have said, or we are also our dreams? And the things that we wanted to say but we never said, the things that we wanted to do but we never did. We are a compendium of all of those things. That's why this movie is very interesting, because it's almost like putting pieces of a puzzle of those wounds that were not closed and those circles that were not.
But he also is telling us that art gives us meaning and purpose, and that as long as he's creating, as long as we create and are surrounded by art, we're alive.
And a reason to live. There are a very simple line when he's gonna get in the surgery room, and he's gonna get the operation, and the doctor comes and says, "Hey, Salvador, how are you?" And he says something very simple, but he says, "I am writing again," meaning, don't kill me. You know, I need to survive this because I gotta continue, you know. And what are you doing? Oh, it's a comedy, it's a tragedy, it's just life. Boom. And he goes off. You know, those little things, those little details, the movie's filled with those little details. For example, you know, in all of those characters, all of those people that he comes to terms with, the family, the face of the mother, basically, then the lover, and then we have, I say, actors in plural, because Alberto, in reality, is a Frankenstein of many of us.
Correct.
There are lines in Alberto that are mine, and but the actresses too. Carmen Maura is a little bit of her there. Eusebio Poncela. Those are names of actors that worked with us in the past, you know. You know, he is just trying to establish a relationship with the present and the past and close all of those doors in a nice way. It was very interesting to see that Pedro actually used this movie almost like a therapy. You could tell, you know, that he was taking pieces, heavy, strong pieces out of his shoulders as the movie was advancing. In fact, something very interesting happened, is that we finished a week and a half before we were supposed to. That is unthinkable in movie terms. You guys, I mean, you know, normally you are calling the producer to give you more money because you need to shoot more. In the case of the movie, it was not like that. There was something that was very fluid, you know, and very easy in the going of making the whole film.
We talked about the encounter with Julieta Serrano, and you have this another incredible, memorable encounter with Leonardo Sbaraglia.
Yeah.
You know, can you tell us about shooting that incredibly special scene, that kiss, and, you know, talk about pain and glory. In that encounter that you have with him, we experience all the pain and all the glory of a relationship.
Yeah, those scenes were those that were made with very little details. I love to use, because my character, I think I could build it more when he's in silence than actually when he's verbalizing himself. And I found great opportunities there to express myself in silence in those scenes with him. For example, when he's showing me the pictures of his kids, right? He's telling me stories, and then this other making. So I could look at him without him knowing that I am looking at him, and I can show how much I love this guy doing that. Now, if he just look at me, I look at the pictures. But if you look at the picture again, I can look at him. So I can give information to the audience that is interesting with very micro things that you can build in there. and that scene actually, when he tells me all the story that he's married now, that he got a restaurant that I should go, in some place in Hispanoamerica. We shot the master of the scene the night before, but it was late, so they had to send people home. So we went home, and the next thing in the morning was the close-ups of that scene. And Leo Sbaraglia, he asked me, he said, I got a lot of text to say, so do you mind if I go off camera? And so I can practice off camera. Meanwhile, we do the show. They say, no, I'm totally fine. I'm ready to do this. So they put the camera on me. And for whatever reason, many years of stories with Pedro Almodóvar, when we used to go to festivals and we had no money, we were in the last room in the hotel in Venice or in Berlin, and and we were with our cans, with our movies, just going all around Europe, and then we won the festival sometimes, and all of those years of need, and they came to me, and I got really emotional, and I thought, oh my God, we never rehearsed the scene like this. Pedro is going to kill me. He's going to cut, for sure. But he let it go. And let it go, and let it go, and let it go. And I'm holding there, all this emotion that we're not supposed to belong to this scene. And when we finished, I said, I'm sorry, Pedro, I'm sorry. Let's just do another take. And he said, no, turn around. I got it. And that was it. That's a one-take scene. So you see, there are accidents in life and also making movies that are interesting.
Your character is filled with so much loneliness and melancholy, but then Pedro surrounds you with all this beautiful art and beauty in your apartment and color. How did that affect you as a performer?
Well, in a way, it becomes almost decadent, just to have all of these things that are so much part of your life that you establish a relationship with them. But it's sad because you don't have people around you. What you have are objects, pieces of art, paintings, books, movies, and in your solitude. I think, in a way, make you, make the character be painted in a much more state of solitude than normal when you see a character that is surrounded not by people but by just things. Yeah.
And I noticed that there's so much detail in the character, the fact that you're reading the book of This Quiet by Pessoa, and then you're also reading Nothing Grows by Moonlight. How
Pessoa was an interesting choice because Pessoa committed suicide. So, and there is a moment in even when I read the script for the first time that I thought, oh my God, where are we going with this? Especially when he started with the use of drugs. Are we going to end the movie with a suicidal? Is he going to just portray himself committing suicide? Or where are we going? So Pessoa, the book of Pessoa there is almost an indication that you can go there, because Pessoa was a brilliant writer, but a very brilliant pessimistic too, who ended up killing himself.
The last question. You play incredibly on Broadway and theater. You played Guido Contini, who is the fictionalized Fellini, and now you're playing the fictionalized Almodovar. Did playing Guido Contini in 9, did it help you inhabit Almodovar?
No, because of the vehicle is totally different, you know. I love theater. I'm an actor because of theater. No,
He's actually, he's performing, he's building a chorus line in Spain right now, and it opens in 2 weeks. And he's here for this week.
but thank you. You're applauding me for actually take the option of ruining myself, which is what I did. But I'm happy about it. No, I bought a theater 3 years ago. Actually, out of a problem that I had, cardiac problem that I had, and kind of revealed to me that I have to establish a new order of priorities in my life, and I just came to think that money in the bank was kind of a Machiavellic intellectual process. And so but a theater was something real that you can touch, that you can enjoy. So I bought it and I spent everything in it. And I've been rehearsing since like a couple of months ago, going to Telluride Film Festival, going back to rehearsal, going into the Toronto Film Festival, going to rehearsal, coming over here, going to rehearsal. So we are opening the theater on the 15th of November in Malaga, and we are opening with a chorus line. Why a chorus line? Because it talks about us, actors, and it talks about us from another point of view, you know, and especially about those who are not stars. You know, it puts the focus in the ones who are in the background, the ones who sustain actually the industry, but nobody knows. And I thought that was a good declaration of principles, because this theater is together with a school in which I have 600 of students from 8 years old to 21, and they study dancing and acting and singing at the same time that they do academics. And so we're going to build a second theater there where we're going to experiment and have new writers and new directors. And so this is a very old dream of mine, really, that I put together. And so yeah, but going back to, no, I think
Fellini and Almodovar.
so they are, you know, yeah, they reflect about their own careers. Jean-François Truffaut did it, many other directors. There is a moment in the career of a director that they need to just observe themselves and just talk about cinema straight from their own voices, but they have different, you know, styles and different ways to tell the stories, yeah.
Well, gracias,
Nada,
Antonio. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros.
Pleasure.
Qué
Thank you.
fantástico.
Thank you so much.